So the Hive is a filmmaking workshop for teenage girls, specifically for teenage girls. We really want to empower young women to understand the basics of film production, but also empower them to know that by sharing their voice, they're actually changing the world. It's a basically week-long process. So we had 2 weekends of instruction. The first weekend was more basics of filmmaking, script writing, cinematography, and producing. Then they shot their films during the week, and then at the end of that week, they put it together in the editing, and then the instruction that weekend was editing and storycraft.
Something that was really important to me to emphasize to them was being able to think freely and to speak freely. And when you're creating something, a lot of times it's easy to get bogged down by the pressures that we put on ourselves or the expectations that might exist. We tend to let those affect us in a way that kind of limits our creativity.
This idea of girls supporting other girls and their right to be heard and their right to express their ideas and their vision and to be honored and respected for the unique gifts, values, and voice that they bring.
Right. You are one sharpshooter.
Created an exercise actually called the honey jars. And this ended every session where at the end of the session, each of the girls would write on a piece of paper something they noticed about their team members, or they noticed about the facilitators, or even an observation they came to understand about themselves as a result of the process. And they would write these on these pieces of papers, and then they would read them to the person that they wanted to give some acknowledgement or feedback to.
Okay.
We would share like very genuine, just one-liners to one another about how we perceive each other throughout the day. So helpful things that were done or things that we recognize about one another. And ultimately it just was really reaffirming to hear positive things about yourself or about others that you don't typically give time to during the day to acknowledge.
So what we'd do is we'd bring in local filmmakers every day at lunch, and they would talk about who they were and what their job was, and just kind of impart a little bit of knowledge onto how they got to where they are, and lessons for how to really find what you love and be able to pursue that in a meaningful and productive way.
It's so important to learn at a young age that you can do anything. It is so important, and I think that the main reason why we wanted to do the Hive is to provide that outlet for young women to realize that they can be filmmakers, that they can be anything that they want to be.
We played a lot with the I love themes, as anyone will tell you. So we played a lot with the Hive overarching theme. The Hive was such a beautiful example to me of women, mostly female bees, working with other female bees to create this honey. Actually, one of my favorite moments was kind of the second day, really, when things started to get really real, when people started being a little less polite, when more authentic reactions to the project, the challenges, to learning to work as a team started being unearthed, because it felt like, finally we can really get to some good stuff here and we can really start building. People are, the honeymoon's over and they're getting real. My group was going to be about, getting information, looking at the mass culture, how women are represented in media, talking about that, looking at your project on a macro level. How are you going to lead in your particular area? How are you going to be a follower and a team member in another particular area? So sort of looking at it from a mass cultural standpoint in terms of media content and also in terms of project management. Bronwyn's group was honey. Hers was about creating the product, the story, that the narrative, the development of the characters, the acting. What is going to be that essential content that you're going to put on the film. David's area was the cone. How are you going to package that? How are you going to produce a vehicle that can convey your honey, your story?
And then we ended it with a big premiere that was open to the entire community, and everyone came and saw the finished films, and the filmmakers got to stand up and talk about their process and talk about how the filmmaking experience was for them, and that was that. You could see the difference between the beginning and the end of how these young women saw themselves and their own ability, and you could see it in their eyes, like, I can do this now. And there's something about that was just so wonderful to watch, and to be a part of that, there's just nothing better.